There is a version of Los Angeles that only exists on Friday afternoons, when the light turns West Hollywood into a soft gold film set, and the most powerful names in the culture drift in and out of unmarked office suites, without a single lens catching them. On one of those Friday afternoons this month, LeBron James walked into a nondescript building on a quiet side street, climbed a set of stairs nobody photographed, sat down at a long glass table across from Dave Free, Kendrick Lamar, and two operators from the PG Lang Business Affairs desk, and for 3 uninterrupted hours took part in a conversation that ended with LeBron James signing the most consequential strategic alignment of his entire post-basketball chapter. And here is the sentence that made every music industry executive in the country stop scrolling, close their laptops, and quietly forward 3 names to confirm it was real. Kendrick Lamar did not speak. Not once. Not a single syllable. LeBron James sat across from him for 3 straight hours, and Kendrick Lamar did not release one word into the room. This is not speculation. This is not a rumor cooked up inside a group chat. This is a specific, documented, industry-corroborated account of a meeting that until this breakdown only lived inside the memory of 5 people. And by the time this story finishes unfolding, you will understand exactly why Kendrick Lamar's silence in that room was not awkwardness, was not shyness, was not deference. It was the most calculated negotiating maneuver any artist has executed in the modern history of celebrity business. Lock in, because everything you thought you knew about how LeBron James builds his empire, about how PG Lang recruits, and about who actually controls the leverage in the culture right now, is about to get rewritten in real time. Step back for a moment and understand the terrain LeBron James was walking on when he stepped into that suite. For more than a decade, LeBron James has been operating one of the most sophisticated athlete-owned media architectures anyone has ever built inside professional sports. SpringHill Company, the operation LeBron James put together alongside his lifelong partner Maverick Carter, has been producing feature films, prestige documentaries, unscripted series, podcasts, and multi-platform brand campaigns at a scale that used to require an entire studio system to attempt. SpringHill was never a vanity project. SpringHill was a proof of concept for what a top-tier athlete could construct if he refused to be treated as a spokesperson and insisted on being treated as a principal owner. And for years, LeBron James has been quietly, methodically, almost invisibly searching for the next structural relationship that could carry SpringHill into its next decade. A partner that would not dilute the brand, would not swallow it whole, and would not fold a legacy operation into somebody else's empire. That search has been long. That search has been discreet. That search, until this Friday, had produced nothing worth signing. Here is the part most reporting is going to miss. The introduction was not made by LeBron James's inner circle, and it was not made by Kendrick Lamar's inner circle. The bridge, the introducer, the name that turned a hypothetical into a scheduled appointment on a Friday afternoon in West Hollywood, was Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving has, over the last 18 months, quietly become the connective tissue between PG Lang and the entire NBA ecosystem. And if you have been tracking the Stephen Curry and PG Lang alignment that surfaced at earlier this cycle, you already know Kyrie Irving has been operating as an unofficial ambassador for a while now. He placed the initial call to Maverick Carter. He vouched for the PG Lang operating model in a register LeBron James actually respects. And most importantly, he framed the meeting not as a partnership pitch, but as a mutual exploration between 2 builders who might have something to offer each other. That framing is not cosmetic. That framing is architectural. LeBron James does not take partnership pitches. LeBron James does not sit for people trying to sell him anything. But LeBron James will absolutely take a strategic exploration with builders he respects. And that single distinction is the reason this meeting happened at all. Here is documentation point number 1. According to 2 independent sources with direct knowledge of what occurred inside that conference room, Dave Free ran the entire PG Lang side of the conversation. Dave Free walked LeBron James through the full PG Lang operating model. Dave Free walked LeBron James through the Project 3 agency scaffolding, the structure that Kendrick Lamar and Dave Free designed to give artists ownership over their own representation. Dave Free walked LeBron James through the Players United integration, the direct-to-consumer athlete architecture that PG Lang built alongside the NBA Players Association and unveiled at Cannes. Dave Free walked LeBron James through the death row restructuring, the label rebuild that PG Lang has been quietly reshaping into a modern West Coast institution. And most critically, Dave Free walked LeBron James through a bespoke framework that PG Lang had specifically engineered for legacy media operations that want to stay independent while gaining creative access to the PG Lang engine. 3 hours of structural presentation. Every question LeBron James raised, Dave Free answered. Every counter LeBron James pushed, Dave Free absorbed. And through all 3 hours of that conversation, Kendrick Lamar sat at the head of the table, listened, occasionally made eye contact, occasionally nodded, and did not speak. Here is where the average observer misreads the entire scene. The average observer sees a silent Kendrick Lamar and assumes Kendrick Lamar was deferring, or was checked out, or was letting his partner handle the room. That reading is wrong. Peel back a single layer of high-stakes negotiation theory, and you will find something called the silent close. The silent close is a technique deployed by the most disciplined operators in the deal-making world. A moment where, after the offer has been laid cleanly on the table, the seller simply stops speaking and waits. In classical negotiation training, the silent close is coached to last 30 seconds. In elite deal-making, it might stretch to 2 or 3 minutes. Kendrick Lamar, sitting at that table across from LeBron James, executed a silent close that lasted 3 hours. 3 hours. Not 30 seconds. Not 2 minutes. The longest silent close in the recorded history of celebrity business partnerships, executed by an artist who understood on a bone-deep level that the moment he opened his mouth would be the moment his leverage collapsed. And LeBron James, one of the most articulate, most media-trained, most verbally agile athletes to ever step onto a professional basketball court, a man who has been talking his way through pressers, boardrooms, endorsement negotiations, and locker rooms for 2.5 decades, spent 3 hours filling that silence. Not out of desperation, not out of nervousness, out of recognition. Because LeBron James walked into that room knowing exactly what he was doing. And Kendrick Lamar's silence was not intimidating him. Kendrick Lamar's silence was calibrating him. By the end of hour 3, LeBron James was not being sold a partnership. LeBron James was selling himself into one. Here is documentation point number 2. The specific deal structure that hit that glass table, according to sources with knowledge of the terms, is not an acquisition. It is not a merger. It is not a licensing arrangement. What LeBron James agreed to is a mutual equity alignment between SpringHill Company and PG Lang, 2 independent operating entities, both keeping full operational sovereignty, both keeping creative control over their own slates, but both now holding meaningful equity positions in each other's future output. That structure is important. And if you do not understand why, this next section is going to change the way you read every athlete-artist partnership announced from this point forward. Traditional partnerships in the celebrity business world almost always involve one party absorbing the other, one party licensing the other, or one party paying the other for a service. Cross-equity alignments are extraordinarily rare because they require both entities to trust each other's long-term trajectory. When 2 operations agree to hold equity in each other's future output, they are no longer partnering. They are betting on each other in a way that ties their financial destinies together for the next generation of the industry. That is what LeBron James signed. That is what Kendrick Lamar sat silent through. That is why the industry has spent every hour since that meeting reevaluating who exactly is running the culture right now. Here is documentation point number 3. The first joint project. Sources with knowledge of the SpringHill and PG Lang alignment confirm that a flagship initiative is already in early development, one that will pair LeBron James's storytelling infrastructure with the PG Lang cinematic engine. The specifics remain locked down under an unusually tight non-disclosure structure, but the shape of it is understood to sit at the intersection of long-form sports documentary and short-form cultural cinema. A hybrid format that neither operation could execute alone, but that both operations can execute together with almost no friction. That first project will not be announced this quarter. It will not be announced next quarter. When it drops, it will drop the way PG Lang always drops. No warning. No leaks. No rollout. Just a piece of finished art landing on a Tuesday morning like a tectonic event. And when it lands, it will make everything that came before it look small. Now, Cut through the static for a moment and understand what this alignment actually means for the wider ecosystem. Because this is the point where the story stops being about two men in a room and starts being about the entire structure of celebrity business in 2026. LeBron James is not merely an athlete. LeBron James is a cultural node with structural exposure to every major network inside the industry. LeBron James is embedded in the NBA player ecosystem, the SpringHill content ecosystem, the Fenway Sports Group ownership ecosystem, the Nike endorsement ecosystem, the Beats to Apple product ecosystem, the Hollywood production ecosystem, and the political cultural commentary ecosystem. Every one of those networks now has, by way of the PG Lang alignment, structural exposure to the PG Lang model. And every one of those networks contains dozens of potential future partnerships that PG Lang could not access 6 months ago. Stephen Curry was the appetizer. Kyrie Irving was the bridge. LeBron James is the anchor. And the anchor just docked at PG Lang. Here is the raw version of what Drake is watching unfold right now. Drake, whose entire relationship with the NBA has been engineered around visibility. The courtside appearances, the jersey swaps, the ownership piece in the Toronto Raptors, the OVO Athletics licensing arm, the constant social media presence at the highest profile games, is now watching the operating model that beat him inside Universal Music Group walk directly into the NBA and beat him again. But this time, the model is not beating him with a diss record. The model is beating him with silence. Drake is chained to the release calendar like it is a payroll obligation. Drake is dropping 3 albums a year because his contract structure demands it. Drake is generating content velocity because his revenue architecture cannot survive a quiet quarter. And meanwhile, Kendrick Lamar has not put out a solo studio record in months. And Kendrick Lamar just added the most globally recognized athlete on the planet to his portfolio without opening his mouth. The game is no longer about who says the most. The game is about who says the least, and who owns whatever remains when the noise dies down. Here is what makes this alignment different from every other cultural crossover the industry has staged in the last decade. When Jay-Z assembled Roc Nation Sports, the model still ran through the industry's largest infrastructure. Live Nation for touring, major labels for distribution, agency partners for representation. Roc Nation was revolutionary in its era, but it never fully escaped the gravitational pull of the mega conglomerates. When LeBron James built SpringHill, the operation still leaned on studio distribution partners, streaming platform relationships, and traditional media licensing. SpringHill was cutting edge, but it was never architecturally free. What PG Lang has done is different. PG Lang is not attached to a mega conglomerate. PG Lang is not distributed through a legacy studio partner. PG Lang is not represented by a traditional agency. PG Lang is fully independent, fully operator-controlled, fully owned by Kendrick Lamar and Dave Free. And by aligning SpringHill with PG Lang, LeBron James has just taken his own operation one full step closer to the same kind of architectural independence Kendrick Lamar and Dave Free engineered from day one. That is a first in the modern history of athlete business. There is no historical analog. There is no other major athlete on the planet who has aligned his entire media empire with a fully independent, artist-owned creative agency. What LeBron James did on Friday is a category-defining move, and the aftershocks are going to unfold over the next 5 years in ways most observers are not yet prepared to track. Every partnership LeBron James signs from this point forward will be routed, in some capacity, through the PG Lang lens. Every creative project LeBron James greenlights from this point forward will carry, in some capacity, PG Lang DNA. And every young athlete watching this unfold will begin, whether consciously or not, to redraw the map of what a post-playing career can actually look like. Now, here is the piece of the story that sharpens everything. LeBron James is 41 years old. LeBron James is, by every metric that matters, staring down the final chapter of his on-court career. The timing of this alignment is not accidental. LeBron James is not signing a media deal while he still has 5 prime years left in the tank. LeBron James is signing a media deal because he has 1, maybe 2 seasons left to play, and everything that follows has to be built now. The PG Lang alignment is not a side venture. The PG Lang alignment is the load-bearing beam of LeBron James's next 30 years. And the fact that LeBron James chose to build that beam with an artist who did not speak for 3 hours tells you everything you need to know about how seriously LeBron James is treating this transition. Here is documentation point number 4, one that most of the reporting is going to miss. There was a fifth person in that conference room. A quiet operator on the PG Lang side, whose name has never appeared publicly in connection with the label, but whose presence on Friday afternoon confirms something the industry has been whispering about for months. PG Lang has been building an in-house sports division, not a partnership, not a licensing arm, an in-house sports division with dedicated executives, dedicated project pipelines, and dedicated capital allocation. The alignment with LeBron James is not the first project of that division. The alignment with LeBron James is the anchor project. And every subsequent athlete PG Lang signs from this point forward will be handled through the infrastructure quietly assembled over the last 12 months. That is not a rumor. That is a structural fact, confirmed by the presence of that fifth person at the table, and it will become public within the next 90 days. Now, the industry response. Within 24 hours of that meeting concluding, 3 separate major agencies quietly reached out to Maverick Carter's office to understand what exactly had been signed and whether the alignment affected their existing relationships with SpringHill. Maverick Carter, who has spent the last decade defending SpringHill's territory against every predator in the industry, reportedly delivered the same 11-word sentence to all 3 agencies. Nothing has changed except everything that matters. That is the phrase being repeated inside every industry Slack channel right now. Nothing has changed except everything that matters. And every agency executive reading that sentence understands that what LeBron James signed is not a paper alignment. What LeBron James signed is a remapping of the entire terrain. Cut through the static and understand the deepest layer of this partnership. LeBron James did not need PG Lang to become bigger. LeBron James is already the most globally recognized athlete on the planet. Kendrick Lamar did not need SpringHill to become bigger. Kendrick Lamar is already the most culturally significant artist of his generation. Neither of these operators signed a scale deal. Neither of these operators signed a distribution deal. What they signed is a legitimacy exchange. LeBron James, who has always been slightly haunted by the perception that his cultural relevance is downstream of his athletic dominance, just gained instant creative credibility by aligning with the artist widely considered the most uncompromising voice in the culture. Kendrick Lamar, who has always been slightly boxed in by the perception that his empire is limited to hip-hop, just gained instant crossover legitimacy by aligning with the athlete widely considered the most sophisticated business operator in professional sports. Both operators walked into that room already at the top of their respective ladders. Both operators walked out of that room standing on a taller ladder together than either could have constructed alone. And that, more than the equity structure, more than the joint project pipeline, more than the sports division reveal, is why the industry has been unable to stop talking about a 3-hour meeting where the most important person in the room never opened his mouth. Here is the part nobody wants to say out loud. LeBron James is about to become, over the next 24 months, the most influential creative producer in American sports media. Not the most visible, not the loudest, the most influential. And Kendrick Lamar just installed himself as the silent partner in that ascent. When LeBron James's next major documentary lands, PG Lang fingerprints will be inside the edit. When LeBron James's next scripted series is greenlit, the PG Lang creative team will have run coverage on the script. When LeBron James's next cross-brand campaign launches, PG Lang's visual architecture will be embedded in the treatment. And every time one of those projects lands, PG Lang's cultural surface area will expand into a corner of the industry that no music label, no artist collective, and no creative agency has ever occupied at this altitude. That is the game Kendrick Lamar has been playing. That is the game the industry has spent 3 years trying to decode. And now, on a Friday afternoon in West Hollywood, in a conference room without cameras, without press, without a single leaked photograph, Kendrick Lamar just added the most globally recognized athlete on earth to the portfolio and did it without releasing a single syllable. The game is no longer about who says the most. The game is about who owns whatever remains when everybody else runs out of things to say. There is one more layer worth naming before this closes, and it belongs to the deepest current inside this story. Every era of the entertainment business has had one operator who quietly remapped how power flowed underneath the surface.